The discussion is so old, too bad there is no consensus. Should we differentiate people from the color of their skin? It seems so, but be careful. Today, I will explain how to avoid the double trap of racism with rational bases and also spiritual ones. Happy present moment and welcome to Janet Salvatierra TV. I am your hostess, Janet Salvatierra. About 9 years ago or so, newcomers to our new home here in the United States, my husband and I went to the supermarket. When we get to the cashier to pay, I realized that an article was missing. And I told my husband, please go find it while I was waiting with the cashier. My husband has always or was always accustomed to call me Negri. As a young woman, many friends call me Negra because I was always very tan, the great lover of the beach that I am, and also because in Venezuela, my native country, we call each of others negros or negros lovingly. The point is, my husband yells at me from the hall of speeches, Negri, this brand or this other, which one do you prefer? And immediately the cashier asked me, what did he call me? What is your husband's name? Did he call me? I was in the middle of answering Jose that it didn't matter. Any brand it was perfect. And tell the cashier, excuse me, what did you ask me? What name did he call me? Your husband. What name did he call me? You? To you? Nothing. He was talking to me. But immediately the energy changed. The cashier was silent. And well, we finished paying. We left the supermarket. And when we got to the car, I asked my husband, Jose, was the cashier a person of color? And he replied, yes. Why? I didn't know either to laugh, amaze me, or rejoice that we were safe from insults or a lawsuit. Then I understood that the cashier was offended because Jose has used the Negro word and she thought it was to her. For those who do not live in a country with painful stories caused by racism or racial segregation, it may not be easier to understand how or why someone can be so offended with the mere mention of the word Negro. In the USA, since colonial times, there has been a separation, a differentiation of people due to its or their ethnic origin, especially with people from African descent, that they were called Negroes in the time of slavery. Today, free and integrated into the American society, African Americans represent between 12 to 14% of the population, depending on the source. African Americans is the most active group in defense of their social and economic rights. Proof of this, the various demonstrations that have been happening in the last weeks, initiated by the death of an African American citizen in the city of Minneapolis at the hand of a white cop. According to activists pro people of color, these are victims of injustice in the hands of police, judges, and in the judicial system in general. African Americans are more frequently and in higher proportion accused or abused than people from another ethnic groups. There are many studies and statistics about this, and the idea here in this video is not to overwhelm you with that information, because in addition there is also information on the contrary that even justify arrest and convictions in the case of people of any ethnic color or ethnic group different from Anglo-Saxons or white Americans, as they call it. And I find it much more useful, interesting to try to find or to try to understand, why are we racist? Why do we notice those differences? Why do act, and in some cases in a very discriminatory way? Sometimes the discrimination can become violent. In other, it doesn't go much further from a subtle action such as, change sidewalks or get a little nervous or make a comment in a whisper with whoever is accompanying us about a person who is not from our same ethnic group. I also found much more interesting, useful, and constructive learn if we can do something to reduce our own racism, influence other people to stop being racist. So I started researching, and I got a super interesting material, a book, some videos, and even an online course of just 2 hours created by the Dr. Jennifer L. Everhart, professor of social psychology at Stanford University. Today, I'm going to share with you the results of my research. And in this book, Dr. Everhart explains or explores the reasons why people create prejudices, not just racial ones, but also of gender. We judge people because of their weight, in case they have an accent or not, speaking a language, or because of their physical disabilities. Subject this latter, on which I am very interested from being an activist and a testimonial of inclusion, as you know. Before getting into the matter, I remind you, if you haven't done yet, to subscribe to this channel, to turn on notifications, clicking on the little bell, and convert this video into a conversation. Leave me your ideas, your questions in the comment section that I answer everything. If you like the video, give me a little thumbs up and share it with you when you think can benefit from this content. Back to this topic. As I was saying, Dr. Jennifer Everhart wrote a book very interesting on the subject of racism, based on her own research as a social psychologist, and sharing her family and personal experiences, because she is a person of color herself. The book is called Bias: Uncovering Hidden Prejudice That Shapes what we see, think, and do. I will share some of the many pearls of wisdom that this book contains. And the very interesting thing that I learned from the book is that we are all racists. Really. The reason is that the human brain identifies more easily to people of the same ethnic group. A human baby of only 3 months of age already identifies with his or her mother and caregivers, usually person of their same skin color. Therefore, the babies behave more calmly, and this already creates such a background for the bias that makes people, as we grow, feel more comfortable and therefore try to find the company of people similar to us. Another interesting fact that I learned is and that is also based in our brain processes, is that people from one ethnic group different from its own always seem very similar to us, even identical. It hasn't happened to you? There is a classic example that is documented both by the judicial system as well as by the psychologists at Stanford University. And this is the case of the ladies of the Oakland Chinatown. It turns out that a few years ago, there were a series of assaults, purse snatches, those kind of things, and the victims were middle-aged Chinese ladies, and the assailants were African American boys, mostly adolescents. The police couldn't do accusations, any arrest, because the ladies couldn't distinguish the culprit in the line of suspects because they all look alike for them, although they weren't really. This is not to say that the assailants are always people of color or the Chinese ladies are clueless. Psychologists simply explain that it's not easy for a person in a group identify person in another group, and this is because naturally the human brain finds facial differences in people of the same ethnic group, especially when we want to coexist mainly in a closed circle or in an exclusive neighborhood like a Chinatown. So to counteract this natural tendency of our brain, especially in a society like today's, where every geographic boundary blur more easily, where we live, study, and work in ethnically integrated societies, it is very, very necessary, first of all, to reflect on our personal bias. How do I feel and act when I see a person different than me? How can I act better, more inclusive? Of the recommendations that Dr. Eberhard makes or presents in her book, I share a very simple one based on reflection questions, and that is promoted by the Civil Association of Good Neighbors from the USA to facilitate precisely good relationships among the neighborhoods in communities where people live together from various different ethnic origins. When you are in a meeting situation or in a confrontation with people from another group or another ethnic group different from yours, one, focus on the behavior. Does the person really behave threatening? Does the person really behave suspiciously? 2, describe in detail clothing, height, approximate weight, athletic complexion, either if the person looks male, female, if the gender is not clear. Try to get as much detail as possible. Remember, your brain doesn't have much ability to differentiate the characteristics of people different than your own ethnic group. So getting so many details helps you protect innocent people, giving all possible details about a potential suspect to authorities in case it is required. No? And third, avoid using racial language or racial metaphors in your daily speaking. Using, for instance, associations with animals, adjective phrases like, I don't know, redskins, incult, or uneducated, whatever. You must be specific, remember, without being derogatory. It doesn't. It's not a matter of being rude. On the contrary, It's not about promoting differences or even it's not promoting to be indifferent to the color of skin, or as psychologists call color blindness. It's about valuing diversity. We must recognize that every single person contributes with something different, and something different that comes from their cultural heritage of the human group where he or she was born. And that remember that everybody belongs to humanity. The double trap of racism is then, on one hand, say and act that as everybody is 100% the same, which is not 100% true. The brain knows it, hormones support this, and if we don't recognize the differences or diversity, and we strive in being colorblind, we can ignore injustices and discrimination. But on the other hand, saying that we are totally different, it's also a mistake, because we share genetic code and, above all, feelings that are similar, and life missions that are very important. Every human being, thanks to diversity, brings something special to the table, to the discussion. We share a common humanity, the same DNA, the same shape, type of organs, feelings, and missions. When we understand our common ground, so much explained by science as per spirituality, we also honor cultural differences. We are expanding our perspective. We have a new way of learning to live and achieve goals. Ethnic groups do not represent differences that justify us to be divided or confronted. Differences make us stronger, more prosperous, wiser, creative, and happier, which is, at the end of everything, the most important thing for human beings. Thank you for watching. Blessings for you and your work. And we'll be meeting soon, very soon, in an upcoming episode of Janet Salvatierra TV. Bye.